He's back! Ladies and gentlemen, I've been waiting for this one here for a while because I think right now in professional wrestling, especially in the UK, there is no person right now that I think is on a better run than him. He just had arguably the biggest weekend of his career at Blackheart Wrestling, getting a successful victory with his tag team partner, Robert DeCaro of the Society. And he's going on to huge things. We've seen him announced in other companies as well. We've seen him in GTM in the past. And we've got this whole bizarre thing with Wrestling Appreciation Society where I was all of a sudden pumped and to ask him about what this company meant to him and everything else. Deadline, he's the first participant to be announced. And then all of a sudden, his best friend announces he wants a piece of him. So we're going to get into all of that here shortly, but they don't call him Mr. Sportswire for nothing. So without further ado here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here from Nonstop Action Wrestling, Blackheart Wrestling, and the Wrestling Appreciation Society, Mr. Sportswire, the lawman, Carl Kennedy. The lawman, how are you?
You know, I wish Jenny wouldn't ask me like that. It'd make me feel so much more grandiose than you make me sound. It's just incredible. I'm perfectly fine for now. Tom, how are you?
Well, I'm good. Certainly, we had Jenny on yesterday, and I'll make sure that I give her the receipt next time she comes back on and remind her that maybe she should give you a little bit of a better intro. But frankly, everybody in Nonstop Action Wrestling should be giving you a little bit more respect. But we're going to get into all that. We'll get into Wrestling Appreciation Society. I promise everybody we'll definitely talk about that. I've got comments already, so I appreciate all that. But Mr. Sportswire, this past weekend was the biggest weekend of your career. You're Blackheart Wrestling, a tag team with Robert DeCaro for the first time in the Society. And you guys have a pretty big victory over Callum and Brice. And for those that are listening and watching this on Sportswire Radio, set the tables about how important this past weekend was for you at Blackheart Wrestling and what it meant to you.
I mean, it was our first victory as a team within Blackheart Wrestling. Unfortunately, for the past few times we've attended, either people individually have gotten the better of us, whether it be the Rumble at Show Some Heart back in July, or whether it be those annoying little twerps known as Burrito, Quesadilla, and Little Nacho, the Los Lunchadors. But luckily, we had some real competition this past Sunday, not some Muppets in masks and tie-dye crap. And luckily, we had some fantastic competition who gave us the fight of our lives so far, and we bested them. Not to say that they weren't tough competition, because they absolutely were, but we got the better of them. And it's all thanks to my team with Robert DeCaro. Couldn't have asked for a better partner.
What do you learn from an experience like that where you guys have a huge victory teaming with Robert DeCaro? Obviously, we just saw him before that competing for the World Championship in Nonstop Action Wrestling. His success speaks for itself. I mean, what do you gain from that experience with Robert DeCaro and that victory?
You know, he's the most seasoned vet within the Society. He's been in the business longer than all three of us, or should I say four of us currently. You know, you got myself, Remus, Mixed Knights, and DeCaro himself. Sure. So getting a lot of influence and a lot of help in regards to how long he's been in the business. It's truly a great asset to have someone like Robert DeCaro on your side, and you know, be it whether it's across the ring or together in the ring. Just a great mouth to hear words come out of, and a great brain to pick when it comes to wrestling ideology. He's got a great mind. He's incredibly underrated, in my opinion. I've never seen one bad match from the guy. And you know, he's a fantastic friend, brother, and I'm honoured to be within the presence of him whenever I am in this society.
Absolutely, no question about that, and certainly what Robert DeCaro brings to the table. Obviously, watching his work in UKW and Nonstop Action Wrestling, I could not agree with you more. But let me get to some comments because people want to talk to you. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Uncle Ralph, obviously from Top Tier over in CCW. They've done some work with Nonstop Action Wrestling in the past. He always checks into all my stuff, so I want to make sure I give Uncle Ralph a huge shout out. He says, "Good evening, gentlemen," and
Evening.
this gentleman here, who seems like he's also looking to make a name off the backs of people like yourself, says, "Sup, rookie," because he technically wrestled before COVID. Now he's also coming into Wrestling Appreciation Society, and another guy trying to make a name off what you've done in the wrestling business, pretty much.
It's embarrassing, honestly, that a trainee is calling me a rookie. You know, kid, Mr. Matt Royale, um, where you haven't picked up your boots for 3 years. I've been whooping ass for the past year and a half. I've been booked in 4 different promotions in 2.5 months, soon to be 5 come October, but we'll be hush hush for now on that. That's a secret that we can get into in a little later date. But it's laughable that I have, I'm not one to be privy and be like, oh, well, I can't believe these kids are coming at me because I'm still a kid in this myself. I've only been in it since last March. So, he's got a point when it comes to certain things, but you know what? I don't know who he thinks he is when it comes to calling me a rookie. He commented on the post yesterday saying that the reason why I'm perceived as a rookie compared to him is because of my attitude. I've got a winning mentality.
And all you've done is win so far. All you've done is win. All you've got is win, the lawman Kyle.
Exactly. So I don't get it. And I'm sick of the disrespect from the higher ups in NSAW. I'm sick of the disrespect from other wrestlers. And now I'm getting it from trainees. He's not a wrestler, he's a trainee. I'll correct you there, Mr. Brice. He hasn't wrestled in a promotion, he trained in a promotion. The only time he stepped in a ring is to train. He hasn't been on shows, he hasn't been booked for shows. He's a trainee. When it comes to me, I am a professional wrestler because I simply have been booked on different promotions. This little boy right now who's trying to perceive me as a rookie just because he got ahead of the curve back in 2019, where I've only just joined wrestling back in 2021. But the fact of the matter is this, he hung up his boots as a trainee in 2019. I've been dominating for the past 16 plus months whilst he's been sat on his backside at university, and he can, blame it on that. He can do what Donnie wants to do and pretend that the fact he hasn't gotten into wrestling in the past year or so is because he's been going to university. We have trainees and people within other promotions, NSAW and worldwide and countrywide, that have university obligations and work obligations who come to training regularly. Donnie and Matt have been sat on their ass for the past 16 months since NSAW began, doing nothing with their lives but getting degrees in things that probably won't even help them in their lives, because if you want to be a professional wrestler, you have to put everything into this. You can't just decide to go away for a bit and then suddenly when the iron's hot and you've got the hottest talent, this guy, on your company now, you jump down his throat just to get your 15 minutes. That's not how it works, kid. So you want to keep calling me a rookie, that's fine. That doesn't offend me. What offends me is actual trainees calling me a rookie when I'm just simply not.
Hey, you got 7 wins under your belt. Listen, at the end of the day, you have 7 wins under your belt. But let me get to some other comments here. First, I want to bring up a young lady that is a fan of ours here all the way from New York. That is Alina Olafinski. I hope she's doing well. She's a big fan of Mr. Sportswire, the lawman, Kyle Kenny. So you have fans out there,
I
even
appreciate
female
that.
fans out there in New York. Yep, she's a big fan of yours, and she loves what you're doing. She was telling me the other day how important you've done everything, and she's just so excited for the future of the lawman, Kyle Kenny. So we
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
the fans out there, and she's a very lovely lady in her own right. Shelby Sinar, obviously, Shelby does a lot of different things also. She was there this past weekend. She says evening chaps, and of course, it was a tremendous honor to have on Shelby Sinar not too long ago here, and something tells me she'll be coming back on here, and she'll also maybe be coming back to the ring in the near and distant future. And let me get to mixed nights as well. Mr. Kennedy, excellent performance with Mr. DeCaro at Blackheart. Shout out as always to mixed nights. Want to give him a shout out, but let me bring up this comment from this individual who you might know of, and is certainly somebody involved quite a bit in the company that you were in this past weekend. He says, this needs to be asked. Who's the better version for Robert DeCaro, Bobby D or Leone Rose?
I'll be honest. It's Leone. It's always going to be Leone. Why wouldn't it be Leone? Leone's a legend.
Okay,
Leone is a legend.
No question about that. Certainly, and Leone came up quite a bit yesterday with Jenny Hayes. So certainly, I feel like one of these days we have to get Leone onto Sportswire.
Absolutely, she's fantastic.
She's definitely one of the premier. I think I said it yesterday when I think of wrestlers and at the female scene in terms of all of our companies in the UK. I think it's her. I think it's Alexis Falcon. I think it's Tonga. I think it's Helena Razor, Jenny B. I think she's right up there. And you could just put them in order and whatever order. And Leone Rose is still going to be at the top of the list. So we'll definitely make sure that we get her onto Sportswire Radio very soon. And Mr. Royale says, all it does is give us an edge. We've seen what do you know? Nothing about what we can do. We know that you don't have the ability to lace my boots, kid, and I'll show you that one day. So wait. Let me get this straight, because you filled me in here, Mr. Sportswire, that Mr. Royale was a trainee, right? He's only trained, right? He hasn't had an official match, correct?
Correct.
Never actually stepped foot in the ring. But he's telling you. But here's what help me understand this here. He's telling you that you can't lace his boots, but you're the guy that's wrestled in several companies. You're the guy that's been face to face in the ring with Gareth Angel, who's going to be on BBC next week. And he's telling you that you can't lace his boots? Help me understand this here.
Well, let me tell you something, Matty. I was in the ring this past Sunday with an old friend of yours who trained at the same school you trained at. And I'm just not for certain he did and always will put up a hell of a better fight than you ever would. So you can keep doing this, keep typing. I could care less. Once again, as you've mentioned, Tom, it's just another pretender trying to get off the name of Kyle Kennedy, and it's honestly getting embarrassing. I've been in this business little over a year and a half, and people are jumping on my coattails already. It's ridiculous.
Because you bring ratings, you bring attention, you bring social media buzz. That's why they're trying to go off your coattails. That's why they're on your backs. Let me get to some more comments here, because something tells me here that people want a piece of you. Mr. Royale says, I've wrestled for 6 years. Mr. Sportswire knows nothing. Do you have a what's the company that they use? It's Cage Match Database listing. I think it's Pro Wrestling Database, whatever it is. I have to get a Google of this. I have to Google Matt Royale's wrestling record, because I want proof of this. But that's here nor there. And we have somebody that I know very well, and he's another gentleman that you saw in the ring this past weekend. He says, absolutely, I can put up a better fight. But what happened this weekend?
And he did. And he always will. Nothing but respect for Callum, because he actually stood in the ring toe-to-toe with us.
Fair point.
Unlike Mr. Royale, who does nothing but hide behind his screen. I've told him to come to the asylum, and he just wants to pretend, oh, well, you're suspended. I don't care. I've already shown that I could care less about suspensions. I show up if and when I please. I'll show up to your house, Matt. I'll show up to your mom's house, your grand's house, anywhere you could be, to get my hands on you. Don't mess with me, boy. I could care less about your previous training or, oh, I've wrestled for 6 years. Where's that then? I mean, there's literally nothing on you within this business. Unlike me, you're just a trainee. I'm one of the hottest prospects right now in British wrestling. And you're jumping on my coattails, and do you know, I'll let you come along for the ride on this rocket. But prepare to fall when I get to the very top, because I don't bring anyone along with me.
That's for sure. And if you like what you hear from the Lawman Kyle Kennedy, please do give him a follow on Twitter, Lawman K Kennedy. Also, Facebook, certainly like his page, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. I tagged him here in the video. Also, Instagram, Mr. Justice Kyle Kennedy. Make sure you follow. Also, YouTube, make sure you subscribe to his page because he is the man of the vlogs. We'll get into that in a little while, but we have a lot more here to talk about here. And certainly, Mr. Brice says, do we think Mr. Kane is willing to add more members to the society? You know, I've heard this come up before. I think it's been with you and other people that have come on here, whether it's from Nonstop Action Wrestling and elsewhere. I mean, we had this come up with I guess you might want to say now these days, the artist formerly known as Killer Dan Robertson, this has come up with. I mean, I guess I should ask the question then, are we going to see more members of the society?
Who says there isn't already, Mr. Brice? They're in the shadows, my friend. We are worldwide. It's not just England. It's not everywhere else within this business. We're like a virus. But don't worry. We will heal you come in time. That's what we're about. So we're everywhere in this business. Just because you see the four pillars of the society right now doesn't mean there aren't more of us, because there is. But in due time, you will see who else is within the Brotherhood. And I don't mean that crappy one over at UKW.
Ooh, well, stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. And certainly, if you do like places like Blackheart Wrestling, I want to make sure that you give them a follow on Instagram and Facebook and elsewhere. Blackheart Wrestling UK on Facebook and Instagram is their page. Nonstop Action Wrestling, NSAW Wrestling _ UK on Twitter. NSAW Wrestling UK on Instagram. Also subscribe to their YouTube page as well at Nonstop Action Wrestling. So let me get to some more comments. The lovely Alina Lefinsky says, and also you are speaking rationally. She likes your style. All right, so you got somebody there who agrees with you. Somebody obviously that has a lot more brains than I do. And Mr. Royale is still going on about the fact that he's been around the country and wrestled in places you probably haven't heard of. So, well, right now he hasn't wrestled anywhere recently because I've been covering the scene here for about 2 years, Mr. Sportzwire, and I haven't seen his name on a match card or a roster in a different company, whether it's any company we've covered here. So I don't know.
I doubt you ever will. There's nothing on Matty that you'll ever get because it's ironic that because in an Instagram comment he called me the irrelevant one, when I'm the one making moves and making waves and getting people like you attention and your company attention. You're welcome, by the way. Where's my thanks, Matt? Where's my thanks, Donnie? Anyone, every single promotion I've been in, I've made waves. I've made the spotlight. I've been match of the night. Every time people enter an arena, a building, a theater, a gymnasium, it doesn't matter where I've been. Every single time people leave a show that I've been on, the one constant they talk about, the one man on their lips, the one team on their mind is Kyle Kennedy and the society. And little boys like you, man, I could care less. You're following my journey. I don't need to follow your journey. You're on my coattails, big boy, not the other way around. That's why you've strapped yourself to this rocket, not the other way around. That's why you and your friends in management at WAS asked me to be a part of your company, not the other way around.
That's why. You know what? That's an excellent point, Mr. Sportswire, because they asked you. You listen, you were in the ring toe-to-toe with Gareth Angel not too long ago. I mean, you've shown now you're a main eventer. You were in the ring toe-to-toe. You weren't like Goliath. You weren't like Dan Robertson. You were actually up in there mano a mano with Mr. Angel. And it wasn't like some of the other people, even some of the people that Slugger Hampton has talked about. No, you've stepped up. You've shown that you're a main eventer. And speaking of this comment, I want to push a comment up the line here. And I could not agree more with Mr. Brice on this comment here. In fact, let me pull it up so you can see it. And he says, I'm not being nice anymore. Nonstop Action Wrestling has a new title. When are you winning it? You know what? That's exactly what I said last night. I said the same thing. I mean, to me, in my opinion, Mr. Sportswire, God bless Tommy Dillon. It was an honor to have him on. I love Tommy Dillon, what he brings to the table. But in my mind, Mr. Sportswire, he's keeping that title warm for you.
Absolutely he is, and it's ridiculous, and I find it incredibly disrespectful that people like me, we've got all these outsiders coming into NSAW trying to get our titles, trying to get on our shows, when we should be focusing on the inside talent, and we should be putting the big names and matches for our trainees. And I don't give a damn about any of them, but NSAW is my home. Whether or not I get along with management, I will always love that place. Don't get me wrong. As CM Punk once said, I love this place. I just hate the people in charge.
Well, certainly after what they did to you, and certainly that unfair suspension that we'll certainly talk about here.
Oh, sure. Wrestler wrestles. Oh no, let's suspend him. People have done far worse than what I did, and got less.
Sure. Listen, we could go down wrestling history and find out things and talk about things and compare and contrast. And there was no question that certainly what you did, if Nonstop Action Wrestling was in the business of drawing, they would say, you know what, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire, let's just keep him on the roster and let's put him in the ring with the wild card Tommy Dillon. Let's put him in there and let's see. Instead, now we got to go through this hula hoop, this dance here of a triple threat #1 contendership match. And
I'm not even in it. I'm not even on Hallows Eve. I'm not on anything. I'm not worthy, am I? But apparently, I'm one of the originals. I'm one of the biggest draws, and yet, for some stupid, misguided reason, you have a serial loser like Sammy Blue. You have the man I beat at Exordium and took out for 3.5 months, Champ Rogers.
Yep.
And you have the man whose career I almost ended, whoopsie daisy, my bad, Conor Cage. And yet, where's any of the society, any of this? But like, why? What have we done? We've put NSAW on our back, whether they like it or not. Not Billy O'Keefe, not Tommy Dillon, not Conor Cage or Champ Rogers or Disciple or anyone else. Me, Kyle Kennedy, we, the society, have done nothing but promote and talk about non-stop action wrestling in Swinton at the Be Strong Fitness Centre. And what do we get for it? Absolutely jacked. I believe myself there. Don't worry.
I'll tell you what, Mr. Sportswire, though, you make a point that I've tried to come across here.
I'm sick of it.
When I think of Nonstop Action Wrestling, you know who I think about when it comes to Nonstop Action Wrestling? I don't think about Conor Cage. I don't think about even J-Ro. I don't think about Leonie Rose. And I don't think about even Jenny Hayes. I don't think about Sammy Blue. And God bless all of them. But the fact of the matter is, the name that comes out of my mind is Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy. Because any wrestler that I've had on here from other companies, because we do work with some other companies, the LWF, KOW, Odyssey Pro Wrestling, places that aren't in Yorkshire, they know who the lawman Kyle Kennedy is. If I ask them about Supersonic Sammy Blue, if I ask them about Conor Cage, if I ask them about Champ Rogers, they may not know as much, but they know your name. So clearly in the business of drawing and the business of putting butts in the seats and getting more followers, you got to put the Lawman Kyle Kennedy in there, and you got to put the Lawman Kyle Kennedy in there with the wild card Tommy Dillon. But enough about me, because I got a lot of people that want to get a piece of the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. And also, we see here from Callum, respect my brother. I'll accept my loss on Sunday, but I definitely think we need a one-on-one someday. We
It
will
would
see
be an
about that.
absolute pleasure to step in that ring with you, Callum. Absolutely. Time and place, my brother.
And McKnight says we will happily consider applications all the same. So okay, so I guess people are you guys taking job applications? Or can we like get on a website and apply to be a society member?
The society is a growing movement. We'll take everyone and anyone and heal you and make you a better person. So that's all I got to say. Mixed Nights, spot on there.
Well, there's a lot of people that would say I need to be a better person in life, especially like an Alina Olafinski. But enough about me. Charlie Crothers, obviously, who we know very well here, says, trust me when I tell you, I know firsthand how dangerous Kyle is. The society is the definition of the new normal. Here's the thing, though. You aren't going to wash your hands of this virus. You know what? This guy has some sense in him. You know, I always like Charlie, by the way. I know you know Charlie for a while. And Charlie, he seems like he's got some sense about him. He seems like he knows the score.
He's a very passionate man about wrestling, and he's a very clever man about the do's and don'ts and the rights and wrongs about the world. That's a perfect thing for the society. Who knows? Maybe Charlie, perfect fit, it seems. So, it's incredibly, I don't even have the words. They just, I don't get it. To get back to what Lauren said about championships, I don't think I'm ever going to get my hands on anything when it comes to NSAW. I got more chance of winning things at GTM, and I don't think I'll ever be seen there again. And that's a different story. So,
well, I'm going to tell you what, Mr. Sportswire, and I'll speak about nonstop action wrestling here, and I'll certainly let Mr. Angel and others in GTM speak for themselves when we speak GTM again in the near and distant future. But nonstop action wrestling, if they want to still continue to be nonstop, never stop, and you want to continue to be living up to that bill, you need Mr. Sportswire back. You need Mr. Sportswire to be your champion, because this man looks like a champion. Look at the size of him. And you know what? From when he debuted in the ring to where he is now, because I've gone and watched the tape, I've watched some of the different stuff out there, he's already well on his way to being a champion. If not nonstop action wrestling, definitely somewhere else here. Also, let me get to some more comments. You can get a thank you from me, Kyle. What a better way to squash any possible grievances than appreciate the favor you're doing for our show. I will judge this down the middle. With so many people calling you out, I'm not sure you're going to be the biggest issue come deadline.
That's a perfectly poetic thing to put. I'm not an issue. I'm not some big wussy crybaby who throws fits. Only time when I do such things and I snap, I'll admit I have anger management issues. I'm sorry, I'm an incredibly passionate guy, and I recognize when things suck. And I recognize when things should go a different way than what they are. I recognize the fact that hardly any NSAW people were in that tournament. And the fact that Tommy Dillon, of all people, won it. Bravo, respect to you. You've worked for it. I'll give you that. But what gives you the right to get in people's ears and get me suspended? Because I know it was you. I'm not stupid. Trust me, I know you've had it out for me. You keep banging on about how you're going to, quote, kick every single member of the society's ass. We're seeing it all over social media, how you've got it in for the society, Tommy. And I don't know what I've done. But if you want a piece, go to Joshua Snow and beg and plead like you begged and pleaded to be in the tournament. Beg and plead for me to be your opponent. Beg and plead to bring me back. Because trust me, that'll be your worst nightmare.
Well, in the famous words of Alice Cooper, welcome to my nightmare. Tommy Dillon, that's going to be what you're going to be saying when the moment that the lawman Kyle Kennedy gets his hands on you and that Nonstop Action Wrestling World Class Championship. But let me get to some more comments because people obviously want to talk to you. Mr. Brice says NSAW management are just scared. If they put the lawman in there with Dillon, they'll lose their precious championship. I couldn't agree more because you know what? Let's think about it, right? And no disrespect to anybody that Dillon had to go in the ring with or in other companies that he's had success in or he's held some
I'll
gold
be
in. But he
honest,
hasn't
I've
been in
got
the ring with you.
nothing
Go
but
ahead, jump in.
respect for Tommy. Nothing but respect for Tommy.
Mm-hmm.
But as Lawrence has just said, they're scared to put it on a man like me. They're scared to put that championship within the reach of the society. Because they know as soon as that happens, they won't have a stronghold on us anymore, like they've tried to. We're barely promoted. We're barely talked about. Where's our matches from Asylum? And trust me, there's been plenty of matches filmed, pre-taped, and you get all these other marks wrestling who can't even perform simple moves correctly. You've got people who can't even hold a match to any of us. So you're right. They are scared. And they should be. And it's not the fact that they're scared of putting the championship on us either. It's the fact that they're scared of losing Tommy. And trust me, when I get in the ring with Tommy, I have so much pent-up frustration and anger. Come that time when Joshua Snow unleashes the shackles on the lawman. Ironic, right? The lawman has been shackled. But trust me, come that time when I get that email or that phone call from Mr. Snow, I'm coming for Tommy Dillon. I'm coming for every little thing. I don't care about Conor Cage. I'm done with Conor Cage. I was done with Conor Cage the moment that dumbass referee counted 3. The only reason why I continued the attack on him was because those fans provoked me. They're disrespecting me.
What was with that lady, by the way? What was with that woman in the middle of that match?
And that too. You do not get to pay a ticket to come to our shows to put your hands on a professional athlete. Sit your ass down in the seat you paid for, you disrespectful old cretin. No one should do that. It's on the ticket, it's on the site when you book to come to shows. Stay in your seat. Do not touch the wrestlers. And the fact that I was impeached and I've been told off and I've been suspended and she got a massive standing ovation from everyone, I don't get that. I was the victim there, just like I've been the victim since day one. I don't get it, Tom. I really don't get it. I don't understand, and I'm sick of it. I've worked my ass off since March of 2021 to make this company, to make this business greater than it could ever be. In fact, it's thanks to me and the society that NSAW has its name out there. It's thanks to me and the society that WAS has its name out there. And I'll be honest, Blackheart Wrestling is the only place that's given us our just desserts so far and given us the respect that we deserve. Irrelevant of chucking us in there with the Los Lunchadors, they've given us that respect. Nowhere else has. We've not seen Robert DeCaro and Remus Kane on UKW for months.
No.
Why is that? We've not seen anything of Remus Kane, Robert DeCaro, or Kyle Kennedy to show for anything for GTM. We've not seen anything for NSAW for the society. And yet the only place, and it's ridiculous, that gives us the credit and the respect that I, Kyle Kennedy, and we, the society, deserve is Blackheart Wrestling. I don't get it, Tom, and I'm sick to the back teeth of the disrespect that we are getting. It's not fair, it's unjust, and it's bull. But time will come. Time will come.
Well, the time's going to definitely come. And I will say this right now. Leave aside Nonstop Action Wrestling. Leave aside GTM or any other company aside from Blackheart as well, because Blackheart obviously knows what they're doing. I hear a lot of great things about Blackheart, and I love everything that Blackheart does. Obviously, Shelby we've had on, and a number of the talent, and there's no question that Blackheart does a great job. But if you're another promoter out there, if you're another company that you do work with us here on Sportswire Radio, whether it's the LWF, whether it's KOW, whether it's Kingdom of Wrestling, any other company out there, I'll even throw some big names out there, Wrestle Island, TNT, you name a company out there. If you want to book some people that'll help you put butts in the seats, if you want to book some talent that are going to help you in terms of going to get your company to the next level, you book the Society. You book Robert DeCaro. You book Remus Kane. And you book Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, because these are the guys that bring attention. These are the guys that put butts in the seats. These are the guys that are going to make your company go to the next level and to places your company has never been. So right now, I'm going to repeat it again. If you are KOW, if you are the LWF, if you are Wrestle Island, if you are TNT, if you are Kingdom of Wrestling, if you're BTW even, especially BTW, because BTW does a lot of work with some crossovers with some companies, I would definitely highly recommend that you book the Society. Trust me, it's going to be worth it. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Brice, and we are here with the lawman Kyle Kennedy. And again, if you like what you hear from the lawman Kyle Kennedy, please give him a follow on Instagram, Mr. Justice Kyle Kennedy, the lawman K Kennedy on Twitter. Also like his page on Facebook. Also like his stuff on YouTube as well, because this is a guy that's going places, and he will be a world champion, whether it's in Nonstop Action Wrestling or anywhere else that they give this man the title shot. Look at the size of this man. Look at his look. Look at what he's brought to the table here in a short time. This guy is going places. He's already at places, and he's going to be at even bigger places here very shortly. And if you like what you hear from us, please continue to give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. I've also provided some other links where you can follow and like our stuff as well. So we are here on Sportswire Radio, the #1 global radio station, with the lawman Kyle Kennedy, speaking all things related to his wrestling week that was, and much, much more. So let me get to this individual who we know pretty well, and she says here, Tommy Dillon is a fighting champion. If he can defend it against the Society's puppy dog, DeCaro, no problem dealing with the rest of you. But I would say to this individual, did you see, though, what the Society did at Blackheart Wrestling? So there's no question that the Society are definitely no lapdogs, and Mr. Dillon is definitely going to be feeling the heat, and he will be welcoming himself to his own nightmare when he faces off with the lawman. Let me get to Lawrence Brice here first before I go back to Matt Royale. Speaking of crossovers, new Blackheart champion Billy O'Keefe will be defending his championship at UKW Genesis Ignite tonight. So stick with me, Kyle. I'll make things happen. I also want to say this for Mr. Brice before I get to the lawman. Anytime Mr. O'Keefe would love to come on Sportswire Radio, absolutely want to speak with him, and certainly I'll make sure to get in touch. If there's anything that I can do, or Mr. Brice, anything that we can do to make that happen, I would absolutely love to speak with Mr. O'Keefe. In fact, I have some time available next week, so certainly maybe we can make that happen here. But anything you might want to respond to this comment here, Mr. Sportswire, because Mr. Royale, he's trying to go at you like a royal flush here, and he says, everyone is sick of you crying about what you deserve. If you really wanted it, you'd take it, or you'd fight until you got what you want. You clearly aren't hungry enough, and that is what we want to see. And when we get that, you will have our respect. But again, I go back to it. You told me he hasn't wrestled and he hasn't trained in over 3 years.
That is ironic that he says I'm not hungry enough when he's been sat on his ass for the past 3 years. You want to talk about hunger? Let me tell you about hunger. Where the hell were you, when NSAW first started up? Where the hell have you been for the past 3 years? Because if you give so much of a damn and so much more passion and fire and energy for wrestling, where the hell have you been? And don't give me that bull crap about university like I know Donnie will. And he already has done. He said it on the interview. He's been focusing on university. I could care less because, like I said, people have lives outside of wrestling and they still make time for it. So you talk to me about hunger. Ain't nobody more hungry than me. But let me tell you, ain't nobody more deserving than me. So I've put everything into non-stop action wrestling. Even suspended, I promote the crap out of that place. And what does everyone else do? Nothing. What do we hear from management? Nothing. Just there, Lawrence Brice has pretty much just put me in title contention, and all I had to do was get his attention. I've been trying to get NSAW management's attention for the past 16 months. So don't come to me about I'm not hungry, because if I wanted it, I could have got it. I wanted it that bad that I made a deal with the Swarm of all people to get in the tournament. So don't come to me about you don't want it, you're clearly not hungry enough, you don't have passion, you're just irrelevant, you're a rookie. Where the hell have you been for the past 3 years? You want to talk about relevance and being a rookie? I've done more in the past 16 months than you've done in the past apparent 6 years that you've wrestled. So pipe down, Matt Royale.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's some fair points there toward Mr. Royale, and he might want to get to the back of the line for sure. And Callum also points out, Matt Royal, I'm sure I can get some respect out of you. Recreate the TNT days with a wink.
Humble him, Callum. Humble him. I beg you.
Well, I'll tell you what. Certainly, if Callum wants to come on anytime to Sportswire, I'm an open book and an open invitation at this point, because I'm going to have some time on my hands, it looks like. So definitely we'll make that happen. And Shelby also gives you a nod of approval because she says lawman laying down the law, which is, pretty much.
Nothing but respect for Shelby. She's fantastic.
Shelby's awesome. Shelby, to me,
Absolutely.
and I said this last night, and I'll say this over and over. To me, in my opinion, when I think of women's wrestling here in the UK, I put Shelby in the same stratosphere as with the likes of a Trish Stratus, Alita, Mickey James, Jazz, Jacqueline, anybody that came before Medusa, you want to throw in there as well to an extent. I mean, absolutely. I would put Shelby in terms of what she's brought to the scene, being a main eventer, being a champion, having the reaction and the responses that she did. So there's no question to me, Shelby is up there in terms of the trailblazers when it comes to our scene here. And Uncle Ralph also says here, some things that you might want to hear. He says, listening to this conversation, I sense not anger, but deep frustration. Having listened, I can emphasize with Kyle's comments. The most logical solution is for the errant promoters to straighten things out and give the man a fair shake and let him prove his worth. And also, I want to throw a bonus promoter out there. And I glanced over one. I'm glad that Uncle Ralph can maybe relay the message here. But there's another promoter that you might have heard of. His name is James Barris, and he's with a company called CCW. And, CCW has a little bit of a history with Nonstop Action Wrestling in the past. And I would say, listen, if they don't get it at Nonstop Action Wrestling, if they don't get it in any other company, I mean, Uncle Ralph, I'm sure that the Lawman Kyle Kennedy would make an excellent acquisition, an excellent fit for James Barris and what he brings to the table for his company. And in fact, I believe it's 13 consecutive sellouts now in CCW, and I think you'll get another 13 just by booking the Lawman Kyle Kennedy onto some shows. So that might be just something I'll throw out there. So Uncle Ralph, if a message could be relayed, certainly maybe Mr. Barris would want to hear that. And also, happy belated birthday to Mr. Barris. It was his birthday this past week, so I want to make sure everybody gives James Barris, of course, the owner of CCW Cutlery Championship Wrestling, a very, very happy birthday. And please make sure you follow them on Facebook as well, because who knows, maybe Mr. Sportswire could make a great acquisition there. And Callum says, just give him a message, which I will do after I'm off the air, and we'll definitely make that happen maybe next week. Also, Shelby says, thank you for the kind words. Also, Lauren says, I just inflated her ego. Well, I mean, I'm just speaking the truth. I mean, Shelby was out there when there wasn't two us. And for all the Alexis Falcons and the Tongas and the Helena Razors, the Jenny B's, anybody else that I've covered out there wouldn't be any of them without a Shelby. So, and then Shelby kind of goes back and forth with Mr. Brice, and Mr. Royale continues to go back and forth. But, I've heard enough of Mr. Royale for a second, and it's all great because I could see, and I'll tell you what, I'll bring Mr. Royal on one of these days, and I'll figure out his deal. We'll see if he gets a royal flush, but enough about him for a second. I want to come back to Donnie Franchise because, Mr. Sportswire, and I was thinking about this here. You and Mr. Franchise, right? You were supposed to be thicker than blood, right? You guys were like brothers. You guys were supposed to be like this, jointed at the hip, right? I've seen all your social media. I've seen his social media, right? And then I'm listening here, and I'm listening to an interview that you did with him. You were kind enough to go on his show, I guess, for his announcement, right, for his company further after he came on with us here in Sportswire. And I got nothing against Mr. Franchise here, but help me understand in the fact that why somebody that you considered or a best friend or like a brother would then all of a sudden want to conduct an interview the way that he did towards you, and then on top of that, want to face you in the ring. I mean, I'm from New York, and that's almost like dishonorable what he did. That's almost like what they would say in the mob. It's a code of murder that was broken here. I mean, Mr. Sportswire, help me understand this.
Tom, I'm going to get personal with you here. I'm going to open myself up more than I ever have done. I'm hurt. I'm heartbroken that he decided to go about the way he did. We could have talked about it in private, set it up, whether it be a future NSAW show, within due course, if and when he decides to get his ass into training. That could have been a completely different story. The fact that he called me out the way he did, the fact that he disrespected me the way he did, the fact that he was a little cheerleader in the crowd, which you witnessed, holding up a 7-0 sign and chanting, "Come on, Lawman, let's go, Lawman," and then to feed his pathetic little ego, to excite and entice his weirdo university pals and his newfound love and respect for wrestling and interest in training, and his sudden announcement of creating his own Wrestling Appreciation Society at university. Like I said, we could have done this privately, but he just decided not to. He could have messaged me. We could have done a FaceTime call. We could have done this. He could have come on Sportswire like he already has done. Before that interview, he came on Sportswire and mentioned nothing of it. Nothing. And then that interview comes out, because I did that. This is a shoot. I did that the day after he went on Sportswire. And he was like, "Yo, man, you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, man, anything for you. I got nothing but love for you. You're my best mate." 13 years. 13 years. And he goes ahead and does that. I'm heartbroken. Truly. And I know it's weird that a big beastie SOB like me can just suddenly have emotions. Big surprise. A male has emotions. Shocker, I know. But it's 2022, get over it. But the fact that my best mate of 13 years decided to corner me, essentially, and entrap me to get a match out of me, when he really didn't need to do that, he could have just come to me and said, "Yo, I'm doing a show. Want to step in the ring together?" Because legit, this is also a shoot. That's been our dream. Our dream from primary school to high school to sixth form, university, college. Since we were the age of 9 and 10, our dream was to be the tag team champions and to step in the ring together. And he had to try and embarrass me live on YouTube, call me out, make me look like the idiot. And he just, but it's okay, because come April 29th, that'll be just over 2 years that I'll have been doing this. And it'll be, a few months that he'll have been doing this. So he wants to embarrass me on an interview on YouTube. That's fine. So I'm not going to embarrass him in that ring. I'm going to hurt him in that ring. And it's going to hurt me, Tom. It's going to hurt me. And I admit that. I'm going to take no pleasure in this. But he wanted to do what he wanted to do and go about his way. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing. But the difference is I'm seen as the bad guy in this situation. Whereas he's loved and revered by all of his uni friends and everyone else watching. And that's okay. I'll be the fall guy. I'll be the bad guy. It's always been in life with me. That's why I'm the way I am. I hold my shield close to my chest, and I'm proud of that. But the fact that my best friend did what he did, that's put a chink in the armor, I'm not going to lie. But you know what? April 29th, 2023, of the University of Huddersfield Sports Hall, that friendship will be well and truly done. He can go about his way. I'll go about my way. He can continue with university. I will continue with pursuing my career in wrestling, and we will never talk again. And that's his fault, not mine.
Well, I'll tell you what, I still am floored about how this all came about. I am still floored about everything that went on. You guys, listen, I've seen all the stuff. It's well documented out there. And he even talked about the fact when he was with us that he would help in terms of just being there in Nonstop Action Wrestling. And you were his support system. This is why I'm totally floored about this, because I didn't see this coming. In fact, I didn't even know he was Donnie Franchise. All of a sudden, I see him pop up, and he's Donnie Franchise now on behalf of Wrestling Appreciation Society. And you know, Mr. Sportswire, I heard him speak, and I hear him talk about your friendship and what this event meant to him and everything else that went on here. And then I see all of a sudden he's talking about defending honor and everything you've done. And then he even comments to us on Instagram. And I just don't get this one here, Mr. Sports. Well, you were doing him a favor. You were doing something for a good cause, right? We spoke with him and we're talking about obviously cancer. We're all impacted by it. It means so much to helping everybody. And you're doing the right thing. You're doing the friend thing. And we're putting aside everything for the minute. You're just going out there in the ring to sell some tickets, to help here. And then we see it just blow up into this. I mean, I've never seen this before. I mean, I've seen tribute shows. I've seen all different types of things, but I've never seen something like that before. And there are some people that tend to agree with some of the things that you have to say here. In fact, this individual says, who is this utter loser, Matt Royal? Yeah, I don't know anything about him. I don't know. He just popped up on my timeline here. And this individual, who, by the way, he's a genius, by the way, because he says a lot of things that I think that most people, at least that support Mr. Sportswire like we do, agree with. And he says, Kyle Kennedy for NSAW World Champion. Yeah, I mean, duh. I mean, at this point, to me, I just think at this point that they're just keeping the title warm for you. Basically,
unfortunately, it's never going to happen. I'll call it here right now. It's never going to happen.
And Alita Olafinski says, men of honor are left a few. Yeah, there's very few men of honor these days. For whatever reason, there used to be where everybody would be loyal, and now it just seems like there's no loyalty anymore in society. That's why maybe that's why Mr. Sportswire is right, that the society is everywhere. The society, you know what? It's almost, I hate to make this comparison. Maybe you guys are like terrorist organizations where you guys, not to be that way, but basically you everywhere. I say that basically with a big asterisk here. My point is, you guys could be everywhere. There could be members, in all places that you don't know about. And maybe that's for the better, because you know what? There are wrestlers out there, organizations out there that seem to disrespect the society. But let me come to Joshua Snow, because Joshua Snow a few minutes ago has this to say. And I want to address this before I get to Champ Rogers. He says, for those that are wondering, I'm not scared of Kyle Kennedy going for the world-class title. If anything, Tommy Dillon now has an open challenge. Let's see if Kennedy decides to go for it. Now the door is open. So I want to ask then.
Unsuspend me then.
I was about to bring that up.
Then.
I'm glad you said that. So does that mean, Joshua Snow, that Mr. Sportswire, the lawman Kyle Kennedy, is no longer suspended? Is the suspension lifted? Would that mean that? I guess we'll have to wait for that answer. We'll wait. Well, Mr. Snow, we're here for the 20 minutes or so. So if you want to get back to us. In the meantime, Champ Rogers says, that's my usual Burger King order. I don't know what do you guys have Burger King, by the way, in Swinton?
We have Burger Kings here in England, yes.
Oh, okay. You know what? I always liked Burger King to some extent, so maybe I got to try.
I'm more of a McDonald's or KFC guy, to be honest.
KFC is good. I'm with you on KFC. McDonald's, my stomach doesn't agree too much, but I can go with you on KFC. KFC, we can agree there. Mr. Kennedy, this is Champ from the Nonstop Action Wrestling Observer newsletter here. Longtime fan. When are we having our rematch then? I'm still waiting for Mr. Sportswire to find time between his manicures and vocal coaching. So you want to respond to the stand-up comedian, Champ Rogers?
I mean, that's all it seems to be lately. He's just nothing but a comedian. I mean, and no wonder he was such an easy beat Exordium. And no wonder he ran away for 3.5 months. Stick to what you're good at. Stick to making jokes. Stay out of that ring. You should have stayed in Wales. You shouldn't have come back from Clash at the Castle. You do not want any of this pain that I'm bringing. As soon as Joshua Snow unsuspends me, I'm bringing everything. And if I could swear right now, oh my God, I would swear an unholy amount right now, because I am incredibly annoyed, and I'm trying not to smash things, and I'm trying not to throw things across the room, but I'm just going to do it the once. Apologies, Mr. Brice. I'm incredibly pissed off.
That's fine.
Because I'm sick of this disrespect. I'm sick of these jokers and these pretenders. The fact that he's got Champ Rogers, wrestler, in his name on his Facebook is embarrassing. You're no more a wrestler than Matt Royal. You've done nothing of note in this business except for embarrass yourself time after time after time, whether it be at GTM, whether it be at Blackheart, whether it be at NSAW. You're an embarrassment to this business, champ. And you can make your jokes. Keep making them. So I can take a joke. And it's quite ironic, because I can take a joke like you and whoop you and wrestle circles around you for 10 minutes straight and win. Oh, wait, already did that. But if you want round 2, you know where to find me. Bring your ass back to the asylum as soon as your little buddy, Sammy, is done. I'll come to you. As soon as Joshua Snow unsuspends me, I will find you, or you can find me. We'll make a date. We'll set this. We'll finish this, because I'm sick of the disrespect. I'm sick of these pretenders like Donny Franchise, Matt Royal, Champ Rogers, Sammy Blue. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. Why don't people take me seriously? I don't get it. I'm not a man to mess with.
7-1. Listen, your winning percentage, if I'm not mistaken, is about 90. Find me a wrestler right now that has a winning percentage lifetime of 90%. Listen, Goldberg doesn't have that winning percentage. The Ultimate Warrior doesn't have that winning percentage. Roman Reigns doesn't have that winning. I could go a list of down the line of wrestlers all around, even the world, our scene. You have a winning percentage right now that is one of the greatest in wrestling history. Take a step back. For you not to get your respect, Mr. Sportswire, listen, I have RPD coming on fire, and I love RPD. RPD and we have a great relationship, but he does not have the winning percentage that you have. Bentley doesn't have the winning percentage that you have. Mr. Angel doesn't have the winning percentage that you have. To me, the injustices that have been faced toward the lawman Kyle Kennedy, I don't know what to say anymore. But I have a bunch of comments that people do want to talk to you. They want to talk to you. Some want to talk to you, some want to talk at you. Go ahead, jump in.
I just want to say something before we get on to the next comments. The fact that this whole win-loss thing doesn't even affect me should scare people. The fact that I don't care that I lost to Conor Cage should scare people. The fact that I'm 7-1, the streak's over, should scare people. Because that means I have nothing left to lose. That winning streak was all I had, and now I've lost it. So what do you think I'm going to do now? I could care less about winning. I could care less about losing. I just want to get in that ring and people up. So people should be scared of stepping in the ring with a man like me who's got nothing left to lose. Your Matt Royals, your Donny Franchises, your Champ Rogers, Sammy Blues, Conor Cages, Gareth frickin' Angels, Joshua Snows, anybody, anytime, find me before I find you. Because if I find you first, you're not going to like the outcome of anything coming your way.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever remember the movie Cape Fear starring Robert De Niro, right now, the lawman Kyle Kennedy reminds me of Robert De Niro in that movie. So I would certainly want to tread very, very lightly right now. Let me get to a bunch of comments here because I'm behind in comments and some people want to talk with you, some people want to talk at you, but Mixed Knight says, Mr. Snow, don't tease, bring back your greatest asset. Obviously, we agree with that. Mr. Brice says, NSAW All Hallows Eve, October the 22nd. Make the match, Joshua. Lawman versus the Wild Card. Yeah, I tell you what, if you're in the business for selling tickets, that would be what I would be doing. And Shelby says here, speaking of comedians, Los Luchadors, how did you find wrestling them? And by the way, they are with us right now, the Los Luchadors. They have joined us here on Sportswire Radio.
You know, as I said, I can take a laugh. But I'm not in a laughing mood. I, for the longest time, have been disrespected, held down, and kept under people's thumbs. But the fact that a person or a team like the Los Luchadors can put up a better fight than anyone else I've faced so far should say something about the people I've faced so far. The fact that a team of some little midget, little Nacho, and huge, humongous people like Quesadilla and Burrito can put up a hell of a fight more than Sammy Blue, Conor Cage, Champ Rogers, Tommy Dillon, Goliath, Gareth Angel combined should say something. That should say something because I'm not even done yet. That should say something because if you think I'm willing to destroy some ridiculous people like the Los Luchadors, just think about what I can do to all your other favorites. Every single chant and every single cheer that I heard at Fire and Gold for Conor Cage chanting Golden Boy just infuriated me more. Every single cheer and chant for Champ Rogers infuriated me more. From Mikey Future to Goliath to Pride to Callum Majesta and Reese Lightning. Back to the Los Luchadors. The fact that I'm not even in my prime yet and I'm making waves should scare people. People like Los Luchadors putting up a hell of a fight more than anyone else I've faced so far is embarrassing to everyone else I've stepped in the ring with. It's not embarrassing for me because I've put on one hell of a show. It's embarrassing to everyone else. Step up or step aside, as someone says. We all know who that man is. And when that man wants to find his balls and face me, instead of just doing it over social media saying you're going to kick my ass, step in the ring with me, get your goody little friend Joshua Snow to unsuspend me, and I will kick your ass at All Hallows Eve. We don't need no damn triple threat. Or if not, put me in there and make it a fatal four-way. I'll embarrass Champ again. I'll brutalise Conor Cage again. And I'll rid Sammy Blue from everyone's minds. It's inevitable. The lawman is inevitable. But it's just a shame, isn't it? That I'm not the one they want, but I'm the one they need.
Interesting comments there. Let me get to a bunch of them here. Let me run through these shotgun because we are still here for a little while longer with the lawman Kyle Kennedy. We will be very appreciative of his time here. Champ Rogers says, I'm a sports entertainer, actually. I say the same for you, but that would give the impression that you know how to be entertaining.
I don't want to be entertaining.
Clearly, that after this interview, I don't think we're looking for that. We're looking for gold right now. We're looking to go up to the next level. But there is somebody here that you might be a little bit familiar with, and his name is El Jefe. And we saw him at Asylum, and he's sort of here, I guess, maybe a part of management and a part of things. And we saw him obviously display that world-class championship and give it to the wild card Tommy Dillon. He says, Senior Kennedy, El Jefe has spent a lot of time looking at the talent, and as El Gerente General of the Nonstop Action Wrestling, I have a close eye on your potential. I don't speak Spanish, admittedly, so potential, par, si, compre, but you might, anyway, you could talk to us in English, because I happen to speak English. I'm not Spanish.
That man is the new, that man, by the way, is the new general manager of NSAW.
I saw him at the Byron Gold show, yep.
That's just, I've got nothing to say. I mean, he's part of the reason I've suspended.
Well, so. He doesn't speak English, so I mean, I'm not trying to be disparaging anybody, but if you can just let me know what you wanted to say in English, I'm happy to, because admittedly, I flunked Spanish in school. I took Spanish up until I was a senior in high school, and I flunked it. So I'm sorry for all our Spanish fans. So I apologize for that. But Lawrence Brice says, Los Luchadores, it's a panda. You know, that's all great stuff, and I'll come back to some of that in a second. But there was something I wanted to address on a personal level, aside from all this stuff. And I got everything there. I got all that. But I watched a number of your vlogs, and I really feel like that people should go follow you, whether it's at Kyle Kennedy, your personal vlogs on YouTube, and kind of step into the journey. And I really felt like two things, and I kind of addressed this with Jenny, and I'll obviously want to get your take on it because you're the guy that shot these videos. I mean, I felt like in a lot of ways I went on the journey of not just the lawman Kyle Kennedy, but everybody else in Nonstop Action Wrestling, or also those who might have the journey as an independent wrestler. And I think that there was an appreciation, at least from, I mean, I always knew what the journey was like. I always knew what it took in terms of, you know, sacrificing from family and work and school and time put in. But I really feel like that those vlogs, people should go watch and kind of see your journey from really when you first officially stepped in the ring in December 2021 to where you are now, and talk about maybe the process of just shooting those vlogs and, you know, what that meant to you on a personal level to be able to document that journey where, you know, you go in every day and you have to go and travel, and then you go there, you help set the ring up, you help in terms of with the other wrestlers, you're working on certain moves, and just the overall, because I really felt like I gained even more respect, not just for you, but everybody else that you wrestle with.
You know, it's certainly a passion project of mine when I create my content on YouTube. The series, Dotted from the Backyard to the Ring, is, again, like I mentioned, a passion project. it's something that I've not seen, certainly within the UK scene, and I wanted to document that. I've never been shy of putting myself on camera and documenting the highs and lows of my life. Um, I've never been shy to, show people how much passion I have for the wrestling business. I've been laughed at and mocked and judged for wanting to be a wrestler. And the truth of the matter is, those people that are laughed and mocked and judged, I can legitimately kick their ass in and out of the ring. Um, I love this business more than any other. Um, so getting the chance to document that was nothing short of just beautiful, because again, it's not something anyone else has seen. You've got the whole Young Bucks being the elite thing, but that's not quite what I do. I document, as you said, travel, putting the ring up, taking it down, stepping in the ring, helping people with moves and with their character, doing a bit of that myself. There's even moments within the series where I get a little bit personal with my life. It's no secret that over the past year, I have been through the ringer. But wrestling has been that one thing, that one constant in my life that kept me going outside of my girlfriend, my mom, my brother, and my little nephew. Nothing else matters to me other than wrestling. So when people complain that I don't show up every week, and this is a shoot, and if you're watching, screw you. So when people complain that I don't show up every week, or when people complain that I say too much, or that I swear too much, or that I do and say things that just shouldn't be said in a professional setting, well, it shows how much passion I have. When a lot of people aren't fans of, in America you call it cursing, here in England we call it swearing or whatever.
Sure.
But I've always seen when you curse or swear as a form of passion, because it shows, you can see it in their eyes when you say a certain word, whether it's the F-bomb or any other words, you see it in their eyes that they truly have vindication and vitriol coming out of their mouth and piercing with their eyes. So, yeah, I love this business, and I'll admit I can be a little bit of a potty mouth. I'll admit my attitude can be a little bit iffy with certain people, but I feel that's necessary when I see that people aren't putting in as much effort as they should do with this. This wrestling business, this business can eat you up and chew you out. Wrestling isn't something to just play around with. Wrestling isn't something to just go to a place and just piss about with your friends and then step in a ring, do some moves, do some grapples, do a bit of tech, and then get out of the ring and start chatting with your mates again. No, you need to step up and listen. Someone else is in that ring, you should not be at the back of the room chatting to your mates and trying to get each other in holds and chin locks and, all this other crap. You should be focusing on the ring. You should be listening to what other people in that ring are being taught. Get your ass up to the front on that apron. Stand on the ropes on the apron and listen and pay attention to what the trainer is telling people. Do not take this business lightly. It's like I said, this business can eat you up and chew you out. It's a dangerous business, and anyone that doesn't pay attention, you're gonna get hurt. There's this stigma that wrestling doesn't hurt, and trust me, it hurts. A few months ago, I messed up my back. I couldn't even stand straight for like 2 weeks. I've been in immense pain because of wrestling at the age of 25. By the time I'm 50, I may or may not be in a wheelchair. That's how dangerous wrestling is. And I don't even have to do these ridiculous high-risk maneuvers. This whole flippy crap that other wrestlers do. That's not my thing. I want to brutalize people. I don't want to get in there and do a swanton or a 450. Nah, I want to get in there, get someone in a chin lock or a headlock or a hammerlock or whatever. I want to get up in that ring and slam someone down to the mat. I don't want to try and impress people and show off. I want to improve. I want to do what is right for this business. I want to entertain people, and that's part of the reason why I document. Because throughout my journey, like I said, I've gone through the highs, I've gone through the lows, and I've gone back up to the highs again. And right now, mainly thanks to Blackheart Wrestling, I am at the peak right now. And I have nothing but love and respect for Lawrence Brice and James Rutherford of Blackheart Wrestling for bringing that. I had so much passion. And now that is tenfold thanks to Blackheart Wrestling. I love this business when it didn't love me. I loved this business when I didn't love myself. I am damn proud of the man I am today, and I am damn proud of the journey I've gone on. So that's why I document what I document. That's why I film and vlog, and however you want to put it, my journey in wrestling. Because I want to look back in 20, 30 years and show my kids, hey, this is what Daddy did. This is what Daddy loved. You know, even more than my kid, not even more, but even, you know, on the same level as my hopeful future wife at the time, Lauren. And my kids, you know, I want to show them that if you have a dream, you can do it. Because for the longest time, I thought wrestling was done with me. But at the age of 24, in December of 2021, I wrestled my first ever professional wrestling match. When people are already essentially in the business for quite a few years, by the age I am, 25 now, people have already been in it for a good 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I've only been in it for a year and a half. But damn it, I will be damned if someone tells me I don't have the passion or the drive for this. No one can tell me I don't love this, because no one loves this more than I do. So that's why I document it. And yeah, I just love wrestling.
Well, I have a bunch of comments on that because people are they're inspired by that. And I'll get to people in a second. But it reminded me many, many years ago, the original MTV True Life on being a professional wrestler. And they had documented it was Triple H when he was at the time with China before he was married to Mrs. McMahon or Mrs. Levesque, whatever you want to call it at this point. And they showed him like going through the journey and, you know, the road trip and the ring and getting into the gym. And then they showed Tony Atlas, who was obviously a huge star, and he became an independent wrestler, kind of like with many people that we come on here on Sportswire Radio. And his journey reminded me so much of what you go through. You have to get up a certain time. It's a long drive. You have to work. You have to go there with the promoter. You don't really get time to work on the match. You have to go over logistics. There's a lot of stuff that goes in, and I don't want to get into all that here. So I really thought that in a lot of ways, it was important to kind of document that here live. Even though, yes, I'm friends with Rick Marcus, I'm friends with RPD, and I knew about this stuff. 2-Bit came on. We spoke about this when we were just on the audio, but I thought it was important to kind of showcase and take a step back, because I know you're the law man, I know you're upset about everything, and that's fine and well, and I'm with you on that, but I really thought it was important to take a step back and talk about really what this journey means to you, because you've sacrificed so much of your life, whether it's your family, your friends, and your job situation, the travels and the tribulation. This is not an easy business. Listen, and there's no question what you said. You go in that ring, any given moment, something could happen. Listen, there was a famous incident many years ago between D'Lo Brown and Draws. And Draws is paralyzed from that incident. There was a power bomb going wrong by D'Lo Brown. There are things that can happen in professional wrestling. Listen, if you play football around the world, okay, you kick the ball, you get hurt. All right, at 50, you'll be fine, right? You'll have a normal life. But in professional wrestling, there are too many wrestlers. Listen, this is a shoot. Hulk Hogan right now, like he's had like about 50 back surgeries. injuries. Like, he's having a hard time walking around right now. I mean, listen, Kevin Nash has had like 400 knee operations. I mean, this is legitimately what you can have happen to you. You have to do it and know into it that there's a lot at risk. And every wrestler that has come on here, every wrestler that wrestles out there, that's why I try my best to support them and try to showcase what you guys do, because I have so much respect and so much appreciation for what everybody does here. But let me get to several comments, because a lot of people that at least want to talk about this. Alina Olafensky says, how about you own your own wrestling school? Do you want to own your own wrestling school? At this point, I just want to take Alina Olafensky out for a slice of pizza later, but let alone wrestling school. Do you want to own your own wrestling school, Mr. Lawman?
I mean, who knows? I'd love to be able to give my tutelage under in the future. Who knows? As you mentioned, I've managed to get in there and teach a bit, not much, but you know, sure, it's the dream of every wrestler to one day pass their knowledge down to the younger generation, if you will. So absolutely, that'd be a tremendous honor to teach what I know to the new generation in the future.
Hey,
Absolutely.
listen, wrestling, I've always said this, is like an apprenticeship. Wrestling, listen, even I heard Charlotte Flair on Broken Skull Sessions, she still had to learn. Even though, yes, her name was Flair, she still had to go in there and learn from somebody. Mrs. McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, even though her name's McMahon, still had to learn from somebody. Randy, you go down the list. So at the end of the day, you always have to give back here. And I think you know this individual very well. I'll keep his anonymity for us here, though, to himself. But he says, get them to a low man. It's time to show them who you truly are and also how dangerously you truthfully are, which we all know that. Also here, Dylan has a great comment. As a man who's struggling to push himself to wrestle, how do you push yourself that little more to keep on pushing? Any advice you want to give to somebody?
Honestly, right now, wrestling's all I have. It's the only motivation that keeps me going. You know, wrestling is a tough business, as I've said. It's never easy. Life isn't easy.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I was very close to giving it up last year. I was only a few months in, but something happened. I'm not going to get into it, but it just mentally, I just didn't feel up for anything. I just wanted to crawl in a hole and just disappear. But as I've said, wrestling always has been that one constant in my life. When you have nothing else, when I had nothing else, I had wrestling. It's an incredibly tough business. You're gonna have your politics, which I've already been a part of, and I've only been in it not so long. So that truly does show that doesn't matter how long you're tenured in this business, there's still people out there that want to see you succeed, but there's still people out there that don't want to.
For sure.
But it's wrestling. All I can say is if you have the love and the passion for it, if you don't, that's fine. If you just want to get in there and just be like, piss around with your mates, you shouldn't be in that ring. You shouldn't be in this business. If you want to get in there, entertain, and have a genuine love for this business, get your ass in that ring. Because wrestling can not only be the most demanding, but oh my God, it can be the most beautiful and rewarding thing in the world. I'm gonna break, if you will, here, but sure. I'm a heel. But god damn, I love that reaction. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be the babyface. That'd be weird. Sure, it'd be weird to see good guy Kennedy, but who knows, one day.
Hey, you never know. Listen, Elton John famously sang The Circle of Life, and listen, sometimes it happens. Listen, there are situations where you become a heel, and you're the bad guy. Everything you're doing now could be beloved in due time. You just never know out there. Listen, Stone Cold was one of the most ruthless heels, and all of a sudden, a few short months later, people loved him. I mean, listen, The Undertaker started out as a bad guy, and he might be the most beloved wrestler of all time. There's so many examples. There's so many. Edge, Randy
Yeah,
Orton. You can go down the list of people. Roman, you can name them. But
yeah.
let me get to a few more comments before we get out of here. And love that he's giving a super passionate speech while being called a panda. I think that was the Los Luchadors reference there. Also, of course, Dan Robertson. Got to give a huge shout out to Dan Robertson because Dan is one of my favorites as well. He says, respect, wrestle kid, absolute respect with the Blackhearts. And of course, he was a huge part of things with Blackheart Wrestling as well. And I'm going to definitely get Dan on here in the next couple of weeks, certainly for sure. And also, Callum says, I'll tell you now, I've been in this industry for 10 years, and I absolutely agree with everything he said in his passion show so much. And that's why, before I get out of here, I wanted to talk about the videos because I watched them. I must have watched 5 or 6 of them, and I watched almost the whole way through. So I really thought it was important. I mean, I knew you, obviously. I'd known you for a while, but watching those videos, it really wanted to make me feel like other people should know about me. I knew the journey of being a wrestler. I've interviewed so many of them. I'm friends here with a wrestler in New York called Chris Urban. Basically, he's going through the same journey you have. He's got a family and he's got a job, and he's a little older than you though, but he's been training for 5.5 years, and he's now wrestling. And it's like you have a job. He's a construction worker. He's going through the whole thing, and so I got the journey. I'm friends with the guy. I speak with him. I've interviewed him, so I get it. But I wanted for people that are out there, even just wrestlers that watch this on Sportswire, that what? There's somebody out there that was talking about going through this, because I do feel like what you guys go through. Listen, you guys aren't making millions of pounds to go. This is really like a labor of love project. You're
I'm
doing this
making
pretty much.
nothing.
I'm well aware that you don't have to say anything on the air. We are on air, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of people out there don't realize you guys really do this, and you pretty much put off all of your stuff, that what you have to do to go through this. And I think that there needs to be an appreciation and a respect really for what you guys do, because I don't think you guys get enough of it. I think everybody thinks, oh, you're a professional wrestler, so all of a sudden you get all these things. No, it's not quite like that, especially with you guys. You have to travel to different towns, then you have to go back and drive yourself home, then you have to go and work the next day. You have school, or you have family, or you have other stress, and you're trying your best. You have to go and do to your academy or your training center and do 1 or 2 reps a week, because you got to make sure you're in that condition to take a bump or two, because even doing that, because again, like you said, kids don't try this at home, because there's a lot of accidents that do happen in the ring, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, so that's why I really wanted to go ahead and document and showcase this for those that are watching, listening on Sportswire. Also, thank you, by the way, also for the nice plug. One of your vlogs, you actually mentioned you were excited about coming on to Sportswire Radio, and I get a lot of messages from other wrestlers, and they promote it on their pages and such. And I want to take the time not only to thank you, but everybody else. And I speak with people all the time, and I always talk about how much you guys all mean to me. So leave aside the stuff with the other companies. I just want to, on a personal level, say how much I appreciate all of you. But I want to give you the floor, the law man, because obviously we've gone through a lot. We've gone through the gauntlet, and obviously everybody's wondering what's next. Where do we go from here? So I'm going to give you the floor, some closing thoughts, any social medias you want to plug out there so we can watch these great videos or follow you through this journey. And I can't thank you enough, my friend, as always. You are forever going to be the one and only Mr. Sportswire, so fire away.
I should really be the one to thank you, and everyone else should be, first off, because I surely wouldn't be getting the attention and what have you if it wasn't for yourself giving me a platform. So I just want to thank you first. But now, all the socials, you've already spurred out. Lawman K Kennedy on Twitter, Mr. Justice Cow Kennedy on Instagram. If you like, follow my, not follow, subscribe to my YouTube channel, just Kyle Kennedy. If you want to follow my wrestling journey, Breaking Kayfabe here, whoops, Bradley Hiley on YouTube as well. But yeah, no, as Callum says, the passion that I show, I mean that. I'm not doing this for some little 15 minutes, I'm on a radio show. I'm gonna pretend to like wrestling for an hour and a half. I could care less about that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I just need a ring and an audience. No one knows this, but every single time backstage before I go out, I am an absolute wreck. But as soon as that music hits and I get out there and I hear that massive chorus of boos, I switch on. Kyle Kennedy is in the building and I am ready to put on a show. Non-stop action wrestling. No one loves wrestling more than I do, and I will challenge anybody to that. Maybe Conor Cage at a push. But you know what? I could not be any more prouder of the journey for non-stop action wrestling and begrudgingly of all my issues I've got with them right now. And there's a lot of them. But I'm incredibly grateful for them at that because they brought me in. You know, I didn't have the nerves or the cojones, if you will, to go train, certainly not anywhere else. And I wouldn't want to because I'm comfortable and I'm happy where I am. And no one can take away what I've done in the past 16 months. No one can take that away from me, mainly because it's documented. So, but no one can tell me that I don't love this business. No one can tell me that, oh, well, you don't show up to training half as much as I do. Well, it's all right because you don't have as much passion as I do for this business. I'm sorry that I can't afford to attend every single training session. I'm sorry that I have to travel the furthest to and from, wake up at 6 in the morning, get home at midnight, just for your disrespectful ass to say I don't have enough passion and love for NSAW. Who are you to tell me that? You can't even carry your own weight, let alone a wrestling match. But at the end of the day, I just love wrestling. Like I said, when I didn't love myself, when, you know, I lost my granddad, wrestling was there. When heartbreaks and all that crap, wrestling was there. When mental health stuff happens, wrestling is there. When I'm bored, wrestling is there. And all I need, and I will repeat it for the last time, is a ring and an audience. And I will show you how much I love this. Thank you, Tommy.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you aren't following the lawman Kyle Kennedy after this explosive interview, clearly you might want to re-examine what you're doing in life. So go ahead and follow him. Twitter, Lawman K. Kennedy. Instagram, Mr. Justice Kyle Kennedy. Also subscribe to his Facebook page here, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy. Also Kyle Kennedy on YouTube. Also his personal page as well on YouTube. And follow, subscribe, watch the videos, watch the journey. But most importantly, watch a man that's going to be a world champion. Whether it's going to be in Blackheart Wrestling, whether it's going to be in Nonstop Action Wrestling, whether it's going to be in any other company out there that he desires to put his feet in. He will be a world champion. He's on his way to bigger and better things. And something tells me that hard work will pay off. It was always told in life that hard work would pay off. And he is the example of it. Look at where he is to where he was a little while ago to where he is now, but where he's going to be. So there's no question in my mind, he is definitely on his way to bigger and better things. But let me get to one more comment because Dan Robertson kind of has something that he has similar with you. He says, I've only been wrestling a year and a half. I'm 18 years old. I'm literally a kid. But even me being that young, I can see the absolute white-hot passion that the lawman Kyle Kennedy has. And if you ever started a school, I know someone who'd be happy to go wherever it would be held. Kyle, you had a future in this business. Trust me, he does. And Dan Robertson definitely has passion. He definitely has a future in the business. And that's why I have one of his shirts. And that's why I can't wait one of these days to wear a lawman Kyle Kennedy shirt, because we will certainly make sure that we will do that, because he means so much to us, just like Dan Robertson and just like everybody else means so much to us. Shelby and Callum and so many other people. And great show tonight as always. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the Lawman especially personally, you sticking by him, and I think it means a lot to him, I'm sure, and certainly everybody else that is tuned in here. And then Matt Royale kind of gives you a nod, so clearly he's come back to applaud. So I guess clearly he gives a nod even on that. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. We were with the lawman Kyle Kennedy, Mr. Sportswire. We went over a lot tonight: Blackheart Wrestling, Nonstop Action Wrestling. We went over Wrestling Appreciation Society, a lot much more in the pikes we'll have with him. He'll be back for sure in the next few weeks. We'll also have on next Thursday to talk about GT Ministries and maybe hopefully the lawman back there as well. Blue Glasses Girl, she's going to be back in the house. Also talk about a documentary that GT Ministries is going to have the next day, 7:30 p.m. So I look forward to speaking with Blue Glasses Girl. I'll be back on the Friday night British Standard Time with the Natural Born Fighter RP Davis to speak about TNT Ignition Wrestling, also KOW. He's in the ring with Big Guns Joe this weekend, and Big Guns Joe we've seen on the WWE Network for Progress Wrestling and some other companies. So I'm excited about that, and also Wildfire Nate Reese from the LWF. And I'll be back here tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, speaking with Wrestling Championship Entertainment's the Psycho Wolf Nicholas Crenson and the Unhinged Interstate Openweight Champion, that is James Marshall. They're going to have a 30-minute Iron Man match, and something tells me those guys are going to be, before they're 50, are going to be in wheelchairs because they're going to have a 30-minute Iron Man match. So those guys, Mr. Sportswire, they might be in wheelchairs by next year. So they might not have too much more on the shelf when it comes to wrestling, but we'll get into all of that. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you'll go back to your regularly scheduled program. So thank you, everybody. Good night. I will be back here later on, and thank you as always to everybody who tuned in to hear the lawman Kyle Kennedy on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio.